わさびアニメ、すごいですね。
And ladies and gentlemen, we are live on Twitch. Welcome to episode 11 of Convention Nerds, the podcast that we started in 2012, promptly forgot about for about a decade, and started up again 2.5 months ago. My name is Tom Kroom. In 2001, I started an anime club called Wasabi Anime while I was going to local anime conventions. And one of those local anime conventions was a show called J-Con, the Japanese Animation Club of Orlando, where I met my co-host, Mr. Ken Joey Snackpants Nabby.
Yeah, Tom and I met too many years ago at J-Con, which used to be on the campus of UCF. Who started that in 2000 and finished up in 2009. So 10 years of fun. And now we travel the country, pretend to be anime pundits and telling people how they should do stuff. Tom had to yank me out of VR this evening because I was live streaming. Because I've been working 7 days a week. It's peak season, and I completely forgot it was Tuesday.
the behind the scenes that's fun at these shows is, we obviously do tests before we go live on Twitch. And prior, we've had guests that sometimes show up late, and there's technical issues. Tonight, we're doing something very complicated on the technical aspect. So in doing so, we got here early enough to start testing and realized that we couldn't find Ken. I started texting and calling. He didn't pick up. So I looked on Facebook and it said, Ken is live. And it looks like he was playing with his VR. So I wound up having to call his wife on her cell phone to go, hey, you have a show. It's Tuesday. So, but the reason
we made it. I made it here.
He made it.
Hold out the matrix and I'm here.
Yes. The reason we're very excited about tonight, because going to tell you up front, it took a lot of work to make the show happen. And a special shout out to Ben Torrens, who I've known for a number of years from South Florida, who helped facilitate putting this together. We appreciate his work on this. But our first time stepping out of the North American continent. Well, no, that's a lie.
And that's a lie, yeah.
So out of the United States and Canada for talking to events. We have Marcel from Anime Shuriken in Cuba. Say hi, Marcel.
Hi, how are you?
Doing very well. So if you can introduce yourself, what is your position with your convention, and tell us a little bit about your convention, please.
Of course. Before everything, I give you all thanks for having me. I'm a little nervous, sorry. Perhaps
it's okay.
This is new for me, but my name is Marcel Perez, and I am the CEO and chairman of Anime Shuriken convention. So it's a convention here in Cuba, held in Havana, 12 years ago. So my convention in this time is, as you know, is stopped by the coronavirus, but everything is getting better. I'm here, ready for you and for all the questions of the night.
Okay, you said you started the convention 12 years ago?
Yeah,
is that
what
right?
I heard? 12 years?
Okay.
Yes, 12 years.
Okay. What made you decide to start an anime convention?
Well, that is quite interesting. So perhaps 12 years ago in Cuba, all these anime things are pretty new because sometimes because there is no internet in Cuba in that time for the public, so people bring anime video in DVD and VHS, that ancient cassette. So in that way, many times we see Naruto. Naruto is the first anime in Cuba, and the people know about him. So in my perhaps 12 years ago, my first idea was learn Japanese language.
Okay.
Because in Cuba we need sometimes translate from Japanese and many things. So in the first time we assemble one team for make that happen. So the translate. After that, Konoha no Fansub was the name in that times. So many years after that, we prepared Konoha no Fan Club. Konoha no Fan Club was club only for fans of Naruto in the first time, but after that we make another progress and the entire anime and Japanese culture. So the name was Nihon Bunka Group. Is the actual name of our group, and we have Anime Shuriken convention not 12, 11 years ago. We made this convention only for fans of the Japanese culture, but every year the things is getting better, so we introduce gaming and other things. So many things in one team. I know many people have many questions, but I let you know I'm ready here for the questions. So Anime Shuriken now have 12 years, and Nihon Bunka Group is getting better with all this stuff of coronavirus. I'm here for you.
Okay. So let me unpack one piece at a time. So you started this because Naruto. You're a fan of Naruto. When you started watching it, were you watching it in English or in Japanese? Which version did you guys get to watch?
Japanese. Every time in Japanese. I don't like to see anime in another language than Japanese. Japanese is the best. It's the original language, so for me it's top of the best.
Were you watching it subtitled or were you watching it raw?
In the first time with subtitles. After that, some time for my ear and for my practice in raw.
Okay. Wow.
Is it subtitled in Spanish?
Spanish.
Okay.
Except for Inuyasha. I see Inuyasha anime in Japanese language and in subtitle in English. I remember that because the best copy of Inuyasha in Cuba in that times was in Japanese language and with English subtitles. I remember that exactly right.
So, just so you know, the way you described starting your convention is very much like how 20 years ago we were starting conventions in America, which was have an anime club, which was the only way we could watch anime was people would bring VHS or DVDs. We would watch it together. And that eventually turned into, the convention Ken started, as an example, was at a college, and then it became a convention called JCon. And Anime Shuriken, the name now makes more sense now that we know that Naruto was the beginning of that.
Right, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yes. Now, when you started the convention, so in the United States, for example, we obviously have rules we have to go by because we were on a college, and we have to get permission from the college for the space. But I know rules are different in Cuba. To try to do a convention like this, did you have to get approval, or how did you go about making that happen?
Of course. In Cuba, we have another way to make the progress. For example, in culture, we have a Ministry of Culture here in Cuba. So we need first to make progress, present a project, and after that we achieve the approval and we make another things happen. Something is difficult because many people in one time don't know to understand we have. We don't, what is the exact idea, so many times the path is not the best path. But I think in time, the people in Cuba and the government understand the things, and we have now 12 years of convention. So the beginning always is very tough. It's difficult, but now it's quite good.
And it's in Havana every year?
Our convention here in Cuba has several particularities. For example, we have 3 big conventions a year. Anime Shuriken in April, Anime Shuriken Summer in August and Anime Shuriken Winter in December. But every week we have a tiny convention, only perhaps for 100 people, every week. Now with this virus is a problem, but in normal times, every week we have one mini convention. In this moment, in Holguín province, we'll talk about that later perhaps, in Holguín province, every Friday we have that mini convention for 100 people, less or more, but in that way.
How many, before the virus, how many people would come to Anime Shuriken or Anime Shuriken Summer or Anime Shuriken Winter?
Yes, Anime Shuriken, the first time in Anime Shuriken, I remember only 50 attendees, but with the pass of the year, we achieved more than 500 in one day. I remember the past year in December, we have in 3 days, the exact, I don't remember the exact the number, but more than 700. So in that way, so every year we have more and more and more attendees in our convention. It's very nice, and of course we have from 3 years ago. Hideaki Kobayashi, a friend of mine and a friend of Anime Shuriken, came from Japan, and I can't tell you, but Hideaki Kobayashi was one of the principal guests in Anime Shuriken 3 years ago, and helped us very, very good in the international. I don't know, with all the international community, because Hideaki Kobayashi is very known in Japan as old sailor. I don't know if you know him, but it's a special thing.
Well, getting a guest to come from Japan for any convention is always a big deal for anime cons. So that's very, very impressive that you got and I'm assuming he came because he wanted to see Cuba and. I've been to Havana, so I went to Cuba 2 years ago, 2018, and spent a day in Havana. So I can understand why people would come to see it. Now you had that one guest from Japan. That leads to a great question. What other guests, or do you have guests at your conventions?
Of course. So have guests in Anime Shuriken is quite difficult. That is for real. But 3 years ago, we have not only Kobayashi. In April, we have Kazutaka Sato. Kazutaka Sato is the representative of International Otaku Expo Association. With Sato-san in Cuba, that opened too many doors. So first, Sato-san, Kobayashi Hideaki. After that, 2 years ago, we came from Cuba, 6 people from Japan, and we have Benjamin Torrens in a convention as our guest as well. So sometimes we prepare travels for example, mangakas of renown as Satoshi Shiki, but sometimes we have issues with the journal of the mangaka, but we have guests every year since 3 years ago. So it's not so bad. So we manage every year to resolve all the problem with the airport, the invitation, the host, everything of that. But we think in the perhaps in 1 or 2 years more, we have mangaka here in Cuba. We are making progress in that way.
So for your guests you have, Marcel, I mean, do you pay your guests? Do you compensate them? How are you getting them to Havana?
So, in Nihon Bunka Group in Cuba, it's not possible for us, for example, let me tell you this, it's not possible for us pay perhaps a flight ticket.
Okay.
So for us, we make the invitation, and our administration inside Nihon Bunka Group made the arrangement for the lodging, I can I say, all the breakfast, all the alimentation in the convention. But every time we need to make many arrangements for the best prices, avoid to scam, that kind of things. So every time we make an invitation, international invitation for Anime Shuriken, and in that way, many people come to Cuba. Some people are interested, taking interest now from Germany. I have friends from Germany. So, but 4 years ago, Nihon Bunka Group and Anime Shuriken entered to the International Otaku Association. So we have, I'm personally cooperative member for International Otaku Association. So thanks to EUA, we have that possibility to invite, have guests here in Cuba. So it's possible. It's not so difficult. Sometimes it's difficult because travel agencies or other stuff, but I think with time the things will be improved for Anime Shuriken and Nihon Bunka Group with that kind of things. But for me, I'm pretty sure the things will start to keeping better. So anyway, we have the idea for perhaps in the next year we have guests from Germany, Japan, and of course, if everything is going well, I think United States as well.
So you pay for flight, hotel, and food, but when they come, you don't pay like a fee, like we call it like an appearance fee, or do guests sell autographs or anything like that?
For example, the past year in Cuba we have Makoshi Red. Makoshi Red is a mangaka from I don't remember, Red Ribbon Revenge. Is a group who makes manga doujinshi. So Makoshi the past year bring with him posters and action figures from his work.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I sell it, that things here in Cuba, and for that reason we pay for the items he brought with him. But we don't pay fee anyway, because sometimes the people in Cuba, how can I say, the people in Cuba don't pay a huge amount of money for participate in our festival. So for that reason, sometimes it's difficult. So for that reason, sometimes may pay fee and that kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So guess you bring them out there, and it sounds like kind of what I said a little bit, which is people come to the convention because they want to see Cuba or visit Cuba, which makes sense. Now, talking about the convention itself, do you have cosplay? Do people cosplay at the convention?
Yes, we have a cosplayer here in Cuba, many of them, because perhaps 8 years ago, the cosplay move began in Cuba with very poor resources. Cartoon boxes, recycling things, but with time the people improve. So sometimes we have products from another country because the people in Cuba have family in the United States, in Spain, and with that in mind, the cosplayer in Cuba has improved in the last 5 years. Is for sure. I have in Anime Shuriken we have several cosplayers, and we have one organization named UC3. The UC3 is like a guild from people who likes the cosplay and that kind of things. So yes, we have cosplayers and we have contests in Anime Shuriken about cosplay.
Okay. So we've talked about guests, we've talked about cosplayers, and you said you have games there. Do you have video games or like tabletop games?
In fact, we have video games and table games.
Okay.
Because, for example, here in Cuba, we have the role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. We have another role-play making here in Cuba. So, video games, we have Naruto in Xbox and in PlayStation, and we have presentation of Assassin's Creed. Benjamin know about that because the first time Benjamin in Cuba, I talk with him and I tell him, Ben, I need you to make this presentation about Assassin's Creed Origin and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So we have in Anime Shuriken video games, and not only for Japanese game, of course, sorry for the Spanish. Japanese games, I don't remember. Every time avoid the games, we have nothing to do with Japan, but only Assassin's Creed and role-playing games and all. For example, we have a presentation named Samurai Warriors. Samurai Warriors is a video game developed by Tenmo Koei. So we have a presentation of Samurai Warriors because it's about Japanese history and the people like it in our convention. It's quite difficult to achieve the missions in Samurai Warriors. So many times make that presentation here in our convention.
What game systems do you play these games on? Like what version PlayStation, what version Xbox?
Thanks to all, Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Oh, sweet.
And we hope presented the next year PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. Myself, I am a huge fan of Microsoft, but I think the next year we have ready for Series X or Play 5.
Well, good luck, because we're having trouble buying those in the United States right now.
I can't find one here.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to get? I mean, are you're pulling down from the internet? How are you getting the new anime or the new stuff as it arrives for your clubs and your events?
So in Cuba, the internet making many progress. So we obtain the anime streaming sometimes, and sometimes for another way. I don't know if you understand another way.
Yes.
So,
yes, the other way.
The other way.
You gotta realize we were watching anime the other way for decades before streaming.
Yes. Now, when you do watch streaming internet, like, do you have Crunchyroll or Funimation in Cuba? How do you watch it?
A little people have that subscription because sometimes it's a family of that people, that person specific, that otaku specifically, has a family and that family pay for the subscription. But it's only a few. It's not the,
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're streaming internet, you're watching internet. We talked about cosplay. And you said, like, last year before COVID, about 500 people come to your convention, correct? When you said you operate at a lower cost, how much does it cost to get into your convention?
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask that. I'm like, how much is this?
Okay, of course. this will shock you. So I will tell you in the United States dollars, the equivalency of the currency in United States dollars. So the first day of the convention is only $1.
U.S.
So with,
Okay.
with reservation, yes, with reservation is only $1. Without reservation for the first day is $1.50. So the second day is $2 with reservation. Without reservation is $2.50, and the third day, the last day, is perhaps 18 cents, 80 cents. So it's not it's very very low price. So
the whole
Tom,
weekend
they're
is $6
operating,
American
they're
dollars.
operating the exact same ratios we are.
They are.
I mean,
yes.
Saturday's twice as much as Friday, and no one goes on Sunday. No one gives a damn about Sunday. So
Yeah.
no matter where you are in the world, Saturday's
Yeah,
always
but-
twice as much as Friday.
Yep. So even though dollars and local currency,
Right.
the number ratio is exactly the
Exactly the
same as it
same.
is in the United States and Canada. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So cosplay. So you personally, you like video games. What is your current favorite video game?
I have something here. Assassin's Creed, the entire saga is my favorite.
Okay. Sweet. All right. Yeah, the new one
Got some free
launched
time.
with PS5
Only
and
waiting
Xbox.
for Valhalla. Only
Wait for
waiting
Valhalla.
for Valhalla, that is for sure. Finger crossed.
Now, have you been to conventions outside of Cuba before?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So
Okay.
if you've never been to a convention outside of Cuba, how'd you learn about doing a convention? Did you just figure it out?
Great question.
I mean, you naturally go, okay, people show up and we make some lines and people watch stuff. I mean, how did you figure out, Marcel, that this is how a convention should be? Because like Tom and I went to at least 4 or 5 before we even thought about helping at one, let alone
Mhm.
running one.
So, it's hard to say. So, I like to go out to another convention in another country because I'm pretty sure I learned about that convention. Because in Cuba,
Oh, sorry.
12 years ago, I think in how to do a convention, and I don't know everything. 12 years ago, everything to do a convention. So perhaps an interchange of knowledge. And I tell you something. So I really like to do a convention in another country, whatever country. That is my dream. Make a convention in another country. This is for sure. Because if here in Cuba, I achieved to do a convention in 12 years, so I think in another country for me is, sorry for this, for me perhaps it's easy to do a convention, because in Cuba, do a convention is a lot of work. Because Benjamin know about that. Perhaps one day after the convention, or one day before the convention, we have a trouble. We have a problem. Perhaps we lose the location. Perhaps we lose the transportation. Perhaps we have behind the schedule. So here the things are pretty hard. So my dream is do a convention at least as guest in another country to see how it works in our country. That is for sure.
Yeah, Tom, nothing goes wrong in the US at conventions.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect. We don't run into any problems at all. Transportation doesn't suddenly disappear. Hotel contracts don't suddenly disappear either. They don't suddenly lose the check and you're wondering how you're going to pay for the first day.
Marcel, I have worked at conventions in the United States, Japan, Europe, Mexico, and the United States. And I've got news for you. The problems you're having are there problems everywhere at every convention. We all have those problems you described.
I know.
So you're not alone. So that's good news. Let's talk about, you mentioned something about your location for a second. So where is the building? What's the building like? Like in Havana, is it a convention center, or where does the convention take place?
So it's hard because perhaps in the first time we made Anime Shuriken 12 years ago, 11 years ago, is like a park, with some trees. So with time, we make some money for perhaps rent another locations. So the best location in this time we have is Panorama Hotel. Benjamin and the guest from Japan visit Panorama Hotel. Is pretty nice there, but it's small. The hotel is small. So we move for this a pet zoo nearby. So sometimes we see, for example, can I tell you, we need more room than luxury. I don't think in fancy things. I prefer many people in one place than fancy things. I think that.
Yeah, Tom, it looks like it's about the size of Century City, looking at,
Okay.
the hotel setup. So, yeah. When you're doing it at the hotel, and I mean, how do you? I mean, we have a hard time explaining anime conventions to American hotels. How do you explain an anime convention to a hotel in Cuba when you've never done a convention? And I'd be very surprised if anybody in the hotel staff has ever heard of anime, let alone seen any.
Yeah, because it can't be like in America for the past 10 years, anime has become more commonly known.
Right.
But 10 years ago, it was still becoming more known, but it wasn't very well known. In Cuba, I'm assuming anime isn't very well known. So how do you explain that, or does your hotel understand, or how do you explain that to agencies and organizations you work with about what you are? Do they understand, or do they just kind of shrug and let you do what you do?
I like to use. I prefer this. I prefer pay the rent. I go into the convention center, for example, this hotel. I ask, what is the price for this saloon or that one, that room?
Mm-hmm.
So we pay for the room, and that is all.
They don't care. Yeah. They don't want to know about it. They're just like, you paid for it, it's yours, and then they leave you alone.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
In America, everybody's very curious because they see people in a lot of costumes. And so when they don't know, suddenly you have everybody is nosy and wants to know what's happening. So I guess it's different.
Yes. Here as well. Many, for example, if you Google later Panorama Hotel in Cuba, you will see the Panorama Hotel is in Fifth Avenue. So in that avenue, you will see many cars, many buses. So when the people come out outside the hotel, I remember Kobayashi with that scarf and that sailor suit. The people, who is that? And many cosplayers is gathering outside the hotel, so the people are curious, but
okay.
It's quiet. It's very quiet.
So traditionally, when we were running shows about your size, we end up at hotels, and we always, if we've been running 11 years, we always run into that 1 year that we're happening at the same time as the wedding. That somebody else is having a wedding at the convention or at the hotel, or there's another event at the hotel, and we just happen to show up with a bunch of costumers. Have you ever had that where you're crossing over with another event that's suddenly seeing all these people show up in costume?
No, never happened. Never
Really?
happened. Never happened.
I'm shocked.
You've been
I am
very
actually
lucky.
quite shocked. We've ruined many weddings here in
Yes.
Central Florida. Many weddings.
People get dressed up very nice for a wedding, and then suddenly somebody is dressed as Goku and Naruto walking.
Yeah, they
by
got an
their
orange
wedding.
ninja running by suddenly.
Yeah,
And in their wedding shot.
Now, when you you run the convention, you say you run it for 3 days. Let's talk about the setup for the convention. Do you have vendors? Like, do you have people that set up and sell stuff
Good
at your
point.
convention?
Yeah.
Yes, we have expo dealers. Here in Cuba, we know him as expo dealers because they make an exposition of all the merchandising. And sometimes, sometimes the merchandising has been made here in Cuba. Sometimes the merchandising is from another country, but we have expo dealers here in every convention for button pins, action figures, posters, posters and stickers, shirts, many things. Yes, we have expo dealers here. So 2 or 3 expo dealers are members of Nihon Bunka Group, are members. Okay. So we have the expo dealers inside the convention. That expo dealers are members of the conventions.
Okay. And about how many exhibitors do you have?
In this time?
Yeah, like your last show, how many exhibitors were set up at the convention?
Let me 1, 2, 4.
Okay.
4. But that 4 people, one of them is the vice president and vice chairman, Reinaldo Almanza. Reinaldo is the vice president of Nihon Bunka Group and the vice chairman of Anime Shuriken convention. So Reinaldo has a store with that action figures, that kind of things. So we have expo dealers inside. So yes, 4 vendors, but with a lot amount of merchandising. Sometimes the merchandising is over near the steel day.
Okay, I mean that's a good problem to have if they're selling out quickly. Yeah. So you have an exhibitor's room. I'm assuming you have an events room, and that's where you have your costume contest. And what kind of events do you have besides that?
Of course, we have something named Nihon Quiz. What is Nihon Quiz? Nihon Quiz is more than a contest of knowledge about Japan, video games, anime, and manga. So that event is pretty nice because the people are waiting every time for Nihon Quiz. So we have Nihon Quiz, we have karaoke, we have dance contest, we have draw contest, and of course complete contest. But every day we have distinct types of events. So, for example, for this December we have a new one, Shinobi Test. Shinobi Test is, I send you later all the things. Shinobi Test is more than something like that with Naruto and sports. It's really, okay. It would be really nice.
Okay, so you have exhibitors set up, you have an event room, and then do you have game systems set up so people can play games there?
No. The people play the games, but I don't. In the convention, we don't sell games.
Okay, but people can play, so they can't play games while they're at the convention.
So the people in another times they play games in their houses was difficult, but now is the people, otaku and gamers in Cuba have good personal computers, and good. We have all of them have Xbox. Sometimes don't, sometimes yes, but the people know how to play in before the conventions. Is really nice.
Now, do
Okay.
you still do you do viewing rooms? Like, are you showing anime in some rooms, like stuff that may not be readily available? It used to be a big thing here at conventions in the States, is we used to show anime, but a lot of conventions don't show anime anymore here because everybody's got, it's real easy to get. So no one really wants to sit in a room and watch it. But is that something you still do there in Cuba?
Prefer anime music video. We
Oh,
prefer here anime
AMVs.
music video.
AMVs, okay.
Not show anime. Anime is not good to show because the people have the anime in their houses.
Okay.
It's
Makes sense.
better anime music video.
So AMVs, karaoke, costume contest. Wow.
For exhibitors.
I mean, it's Florida cosplay experience all over again, Tom.
It is. It's wow. And again, everything you're describing is things we did at conventions 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
And for a 500 person size event, that makes sense. You know?
Right, exactly. So yeah, wow.
Now, when you get people, those 500 people that come, are they all just from Havana, or do they come from all over Cuba?
The massification is Havana, but sometimes people come from Holguín province, another people comes from Pinar del Rio province, Matanzas province, Mayabeque province, Artemisa province. So it's not national-wide, but perhaps 5 provinces participate in Anime Shuriken every time.
Okay. So how do you promote Anime Shuriken? I mean, are you passing out flyers? Is it word of mouth? Are you greasing palms? I mean, how are you doing it?
With all that you say
all the above
is our promotion.
This is a real eye-opening experience. This is going to really show exactly. I mean, I thought I was completely missing it when we were talking to Alaska and Hawaii, but as a child of the 80s in Florida, when you say you're going to have anime dealers, I expect some guy in the back room of a back room of a back room that you need to know a guy to get into to see. So, I mean, just the fact that you guys are having, a exhibitor hall, a vendor area. I mean, this is really fascinating to me. I'm glad Tom was able to set this up because I'm really understanding quite a bit of what's going on. And it, honestly, it's a little shocking that, it's the same. It's the same thing we're doing just 5 years later,
Yeah. Well, 10 years, but yeah,
well,
and it's kind of what I said earlier too, which is, and it's kind of the purpose behind why we started doing this show is a lot of people, when they run their own conventions, they run their own anime con, their own comic con, until they start talking to other people who do this, they think that their experience running the show and all the challenges they have are so unique because of where they are. Right. And so just like Ken said, we've interviewed a show in Canada now, and then we talked to Hawaii, which is an island, like Cuba is an island. And we talked to Alaska, and Alaska's so far away from everything. And we talked to California, where there's so many people in California, but all those sound, and your show in Cuba sounds like they should be so different. But in talking to you, we're hearing right now that it's all the same. We all have the same thing, and we want the same thing, which is, how do we create something for fans? How can our fans have a good time? And whether you're a small show or you're 100,000 people, the core thing is the same. Of, well, we want to make sure they have exhibitors. We want to make sure they can cosplay. We want to have people there they can meet, and we want the convention to be a place where people who are fans of the same thing can all come together and do the same thing. And it sounds like, especially considering the challenges of something like that in Cuba, that's amazing that you've been doing that for 12 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I think amazement is about the best adjective to use here.
Yeah.
What is the biggest challenge you have regarding putting on the event? Is it getting the space? Is it advertising? Is it getting the entertainment? What are you finding? What, as a mentor used to tell me, what keeps you awake at night regarding this event?
Let me tell you, is it's difficult. So the biggest thing we have to do every time, every year, is the location.
Okay.
The location is only the big issue here. Every year we need to, I don't know, seek a new location.
Right.
We need a better location, bigger location, because every year the people grows and grow and grow. That in this, every year is more. So, with top priority always be, until now, achieve more knowledge and, of course, taking advantage better places every time.
So when you get your location, so in the United States, depending on where you are, I have to pay for insurance. Sometimes I have to get a permit for things that we're doing. What do you have to do like that in Cuba? Do you have to have a permit from like the government or before you can do that? Do you have to get insurance? What sort of stuff do you need like that?
Okay. Here is not a problem, because when you have authorization from the government to make that, the insurance, that kind of things is not a problem. So here, for example, this is example. Tomorrow we have a festival. We need to make the festival, for example, in Havana. So we have in Havana location. Yes, we have a location. We go to the administration. Hello, tomorrow we have here a festival about Japanese culture, right? You're right. And how I can pay, how I need to pay for this room, for example, in United States dollars, I don't know, $100. Yes, here, $100. So we see you tomorrow. That is all.
Interesting. Okay. So you just pay for tell them you're doing it, pay for the permit, and you're done, and you don't need insurance because insurance isn't something required by anybody there.
Of course.
Yeah, Tom, we're running events in the wrong damn country.
We are. Yeah, no. The costs involved for us to do something like that, it's you have to pay for insurance and a bunch of other things like that. Now with Ken, let's come back to Ken talked about advertising. You're doing flyers and posters, stuff like that. Do you do any online advertising, like social media or anything like that? What social media is? Let me take that back. What social media is popular in Cuba?
Exactly. Good point, Tom. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, okay. So in Cuba, Twitter for this kind of advertising is no use. Okay. So Facebook and WhatsApp groups.
WhatsApp groups. Okay.
Way. Facebook and WhatsApp group. We have, for example, Nihon Bunka group in Facebook, and we have in WhatsApp, we have at least 3 groups of anime. So in that way, we make the advertising via internet with that 2 principal applications. So Facebook and WhatsApp.
Do you have Instagram in Cuba?
Yes, we have total access to Instagram, but we don't use Instagram for the advertising.
Okay, that's in the United States right now. It's for advertising. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are the 3 main social networks, and now younger people are using an app called TikTok. So I
like TikTok and Instagram, but what happens in Cuba? Access to Instagram or TikTok is a lot of consume of the data, so the people don't use Instagram or TikTok too much. It's better Facebook or WhatsApp.
because it takes a lot of internet. That makes sense. And Facebook's very good at compression, so that makes a lot of sense. So you're advertising on Facebook and WhatsApp. You're advertising at giving out flyers. Now, when we give out posters and flyers in the United States, we put them in stores that sell comic books, stores that sell video games, stuff like that.
And colleges,
do you have
Tom.
and colleges and educational like colleges and schools? Now, do you have stores in Havana, like a video game store or comic book stores? Do you have stores like that?
No, we don't have a store here, but we have educational centers in the buses, stops, so many things. So, for example, sometimes we have this person in our team who likes to travel across the city and put the flyers in hand to hand in the students from the junior pre-university or high school. So hand to hand, because in stores it's not used.
Okay, so it's what Ken kind of said. More the students and colleges are going to be the best places to get those flyers.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to make sure we cover everything we should. I'm trying to think of the logic behind everything we do at a show.
I like to say this.
Well,
in WhatsApp, we have the people here in Cuba give us the cell phone, the cell phone number for make an advertising, direct advertising via WhatsApp groups. So we have more than 100 cell phones numbers, and we send text and we send via WhatsApp all the information about the next convention, and that this is important. Is pretty useful.
now the one thing we haven't asked Marcel is the one question we've asked everybody else.
Okay.
Do you do this for a living?
Yes.
So the convention is your living. That is your job.
Yes. This is my job. Exactly. It's my job, and I'm doing this 12 years. I have now 29 years. So this is my job. This is my life.
It goes downhill at 30. Watch it. You know.
What? Okay, so this is your job.
Okay, that was not the answer I was expecting.
This.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, besides Anime Shuriken, do you run other events too?
Well, he's running 3 Anime Shurikens,
no,
Tom.
Sorry. Right?
Well, I mean, you're running 3 Anime Shurikens. You got your regular one, you got your primary one, you got summer, and you got winter. Are you running any other events as well?
Of course. This year, in January, open K-pop festivals. So I know in the entire world, the K-pop thing, this music from South Korea, is taking every year is taking more and more a scenario. So we have Skyworld Entertainment is a Nihon Bunka Group agency for dance. So in this year we make K-pop festivals here in Cuba. So it's a new thing. So we have, for example, in the 2 regions of Cuba, center and the east, we have headquarters for making more convention and making more activities, small conventions every week. Yes, we have more.
Okay, wow. So you like K-pop?
I prefer rock. I like the rock more, but I like K-pop.
I like Blackpink, so that's my K-pop band that I like. So
Blackpink, good. Blackpink. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so you're doing other festivals, and again, you did mention earlier that once a week you kind of have a small event for fans to keep gathering. So That's good too. What is, because we're getting close to time, what is the future of Anime Shuriken? What is your hope for the show one day?
So I don't know. I like to believe in time we achieve knowledge more than everything. So with every step, I think Anime Shuriken getting better, improve. So I don't know. I don't know how to say.
That's okay.
It sounds like you're doing a great job. I mean, honestly, I'm shocked. I am really shocked. Running 3 shows, getting on the festival bandwagon. I had a hard time just running 1 show and doing that, but it wasn't my job. But still, that's a lot of work. I'm impressed. I am really impressed.
And they're doing the weekly thing on top of
that. Yeah, I forgot about the 100 heads a week too. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot of work. You got to be very, very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hustle.
yeah, indeed.
Oh wow.
Perfect.
Well,
is there anything we forgot to ask you about, or something you want to tell us that we may have missed at this point?
No, I'm okay.
When's your next dates? When do you plan on? When's your hope for your next event?
Of course, we have now in December.
Okay.
We have Anime Shuriken Winter 2020 in Holguín Province. So from 26 to 28 of December,
wow.
All is ready for having Anime Shuriken in Holguín.
Right after Christmas.
Are you going to be allowed to do that with COVID happening?
In Cuba, we are ready for all the health stuff. So the people know he need to wear mask, and we have the hand cleaning alcohol base ready, and all my entire crew is ready to make this happen. So, but in Cuba, the COVID is stopping. So in Holguín province, with the new normality, we are ready to make Anime Shuriken. But first of all, the public service of health and the government allow the Anime Shuriken in Holguín this end of the year. So we are authorized for doing this in this end of the year. So it's okay.
Well, and when I went to Cuba, that's something. So in the rest of the world, like in the United States, when we go travel now, they've changed the way we travel. And some of the things that are happening, I was talking to a friend in Japan about this today, are things that Cuba actually has been doing for years. Because when I came to Cuba, I came via boat. In order to get into the country, they took my temperature. And again, this was 2018. They took my temperature and made sure I was okay before they let me in the country. And if I wasn't, if my temperature is too high, they weren't going to let me come into Cuba. So now other countries are doing that, but Cuba was already doing that a couple of years ago. So I think you guys, when this hit, probably were a little more insulated than a number of countries, because you are that careful about people coming in and out of your country. Which is great, and I hope the government lets you run the show in December. And it sounds like you're doing all the important safety stuff that we talk about here in the United States, which is always wear a mask, hand sanitizer, tell everybody to wash their hands. And we've had some events happen in the United States, and they're about your size, and they've run successfully. And I'm in Florida, and our theme parks like Walt Disney World are operating with all those safety things. So I think if we do it safely, then obviously events can happen, especially if they're a 500 person event. So, wow, that's just absolutely amazed at everything you've told us. Didn't know what to expect when we were going to talk about a convention in Cuba, but it's continued to prove our point on convention nerds, which is, as different as all of this seems, at the end of the day, we are all very much the same in a lot of the stuff we do. And Ken said a lot, and I'll say it some more. Congratulations. You should be very, very proud with what you've done in the past 12 years with that show. That is amazing job, sir. Congratulations.
Thanks, thanks for all. I presume. Thanks for inviting me to this and being part. All the conventions in the world are the same, with only one idea. That is the principal idea of International Otaku Association, I represent the UEA in Cuba, and that is the first idea. All of us are one for the otaku and the anime and manga. We are family all together.
Absolutely. What where could fans find, like, if we wanted to tell them to go online to learn more about your convention, is there a website or a specific place we should send them to go?
In the next year, we prepare a new page, but now Nihon Bunka Group is available in Facebook. The next year, we prepare, my crew is preparing a whole new page, but until now is in Facebook group. Nihon Bunka Group is the name. Nihon Bunka Group. Nihon Bunka is Japanese culture in Japanese. So Nihon Bunka Group in Facebook.
And after the show, we'll make sure to have Wasabi Anime share a link to the group on Facebook and Twitter, so fans can find that and learn more about your show. But that's all I got. Ken, you got anything else?
No, that's great. Been a great show.
Take us home. And anything else? Any final thoughts on conventions before we end the show?
Well, I think this. I talked with Danielle Sunday, and I tell her, all of you are already invited in whatever time you like to come to Cuba and participate in our events. So,
yeah, we're gonna need some things to change before some of us can get down there. So
we appreciate the offer. Yes. Hopefully next year that's something we can actually do again. But again, I've been to Cuba. It's a beautiful country. I drank way too much alcohol, but I had a great time when I was there. But hopefully looking forward to do it again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show this week. It's Marcel from Anime Shuriken. Again, they have a Facebook group to promote their convention, and we will be sharing that on our Facebook and Twitter for Wasabi Anime. And that's I think that's a great wrap up of the show. Marcel, thanks again. We have Benjamin Torrens listening. Ben, quick shout out to him. Thank you for working with our producer Danielle and making this interview happen. And we look forward to seeing you guys all again next week. Have a good night.
For you as well. Thank